Ulcer, a common medical condition, has been noted as prevalent among people who rely on self-medication for personal care, many unaware of the consequences. Welcome to another edition of Health Options. We shall be unearthing the dangers of ulcer, causes, types, and how you and I can prevent or manage the ailment if affected. All these with the help of a specialist, plus something special on our Nature's Corner. I am Salwa Khalil Ibrahim, sitting in for your regular anchor, Rabi Abdullah, who is taking a well-deserved rest. Thanks for tuning in. This is Health Option, where we keep you informed and help you make the right choice about your health. As noted earlier, this episode is focusing on the types and management of ulcers. We'll take a time out now. When we return, a physician will join me on set to provide you with options that should keep you ulcer-free. Do stay. We have in the house a family physician, Dr. Ladan Aisha Tamia. Thank you for joining us, Doctor.
Thank you, Sarah, for having me here today.
Okay. A lot of people are believed to be suffering from ulcer, but as an expert now, what really is ulcer and its root causes, of course?
So ulcer is like an open sore in the inner lining of the stomach and upper part of the intestine and also the lower part of the esophagus. So ulcer has a lot of causes. There are primary causes of ulcer and also there are secondary causes of ulcer. However, in the recent studies, it is found that the greatest risk of ulcer is associated with an infection that is caused by a bacteria popularly known as Helicobacter pylori, and also is associated with a prolonged intake of some medications known as the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, the likes of ibuprofen, diclofenac, and others. However, aside that, there are some risk factors that are associated with ulcer, like some lifestyle conditions like cigarette smoking, excessive use of alcohol, and also some conditions like chronic diseases that warrant the person taking this non-steroidal anti-inflammatory for a long time, and also some conditions like burns. Prolonged burns can lead to secondary ulcer. So ulcer itself, the right term is peptic ulcer disease actually, because ulcer, it could be wound from anywhere, but an open sore in the stomach or in the upper part of the intestine, also the lower part of the esophagus, is termed as peptic ulcer disease. It is caused by complex interaction or really interaction between the gastric acid in the stomach and also the interplay of the bacteria and also the prolonged use of the medications, as I mentioned. In our environment, the prevalence of ulcer is quite increasing. In Nigeria, in a studies that was done recently, it was found that about 6.7% is the prevalence of ulcer in our environment, which also is similar to a worldwide study of a prevalence of peptic ulcer disease to be about 5 to 10%. So as you can see, Sawa, the prevalence of ulcer is quite high in our environment.
That's quite unfortunate. Okay, now talking about the symptoms of ulcer, is it, like you said, peptic ulcer, especially? I guess it's the most common, right, Doctor, if I'm right?
So the term is peptic ulcer disease. There are several types. It depends. The naming is based on the location where the sore is found. Okay. So it's termed gastric ulcer when the sore is found on the stomach, or is duodenal ulcer when it affects the upper part of the intestine, that's the duodenum. So this basically gastric ulcer or duodenal ulcer. However, as I mentioned, rarely you can also find ulcer in the lower part of the esophagus, the part that joins the throat to the stomach, that's esophagus. So you can also find ulcer there. So basically, the gastric ulcer and the duodenal ulcer are quite common, and it's often difficult to differentiate symptomatically which is which. So I'll basically say both the gastric and duodenal ulcer are quite common.
Okay, so at what point now should one be worried of having ulcer? A lot of people, sometimes it's common in our society, when somebody has stomach pain, sometimes people would just easily will say it's ulcer. Is that right? Or at what point should one be worried about ulcer?
So peptic ulcer disease could be symptomatic, that the patient can come down with symptoms, and also it could be asymptomatic, I mean to be quiet all through. So basically the commonest presentation of peptic ulcer disease is a burning abdominal pain. That's the commonest presentation. However, it could have other symptoms like nausea, like vomiting. They can come down with bleeding. They can come down with easy satiety and the likes of that. However, at some point, a person with burning abdominal pain, there's what we call the red flags. So these are the points where one gets to get worried and need to seek a further medical care outside the routine care. So when someone is having bleeding in any form, whether bleeding, vomiting of blood, or passing stool and seeing blood in it, or dark discoloration of the stool, is a point of concern. Also, unexplained weight loss, when you just having, you notice you are losing weight that you could not explain, or feeling of fullness easily, few chunk of food, few spoons and you are full, so you get worried with that. And also, some people can have obvious swelling, distension. They feel when they touch some parts of their abdomen, they do feel a mass, a swelling. So at that point, I think it's a point of concern. And these are some of the red flags in peptic ulcer disease.
Okay, about the red flags now in ulcers, can that lead to other ailments?
Yes, as ulcer is preventable, it is also curable. However, when left untreated for some time, it can lead to some serious diseases. It can have malignant transformation, what we call cancer. So yes, it does. It can lead to more serious condition. However, as I mentioned earlier, that abdominal pain is the commonest presenting symptom of peptic ulcer disease. Other gastrointestinal diseases also present with abdominal pain. So I think we have to rule out other causes of that pain before you say it is ulcer. And as I mentioned also, it can have malignant transformation. That's cancer.
Okay. Many thanks, Doctor. Now, we'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll take up from here. Stay tuned.
Allow these children to grow.
Yes.
Many of them, you have somebody 14, 15 going to the university. Where are you going?
Information technology is the future.
Hello, a warm welcome to you. This is Platform. I'm Ruth Agwala.
If you don't create that awareness and you don't bring the young minds to identify that there are benefits in astronomy.
We have had experiences through various leadership strata, bringing us to where we can
Platform engages guests on topical issues for national interest.
We have cases like that. We all to protect children and also make parents realize that they have a primary responsibility.
Join us every Thursday at 2 p.m. on the network service of the NTA.
Many thanks for being there. If you just joined us, this is Health Options, and we've been talking about ulcers. And with me in the house is Dr. Ladan Aisha Amia. Many thanks for being there, Doctor.
Thank you so much.
We've been talking a lot about ulcer. Why do you think ulcer is so prevalent among Nigerians, like you mentioned earlier?
Yes, the prevalence of ulcer is quite increasing in our environment due to some factors. As I mentioned, yeah, quite sure ulcer, the greatest risk is the bacterial infection, Helicobacter pylori, and also prolonged use of NSAIDs. But if you notice somewhere in our environment, there is increased incidence of lifestyle-associated diseases like osteoarthritis, hypertension, diabetes, and the likes of that. And also there is increased prevalence of also substance use. So that contributes a lot to the increase in the prevalence of ulcer, because usually in our environment, people have access to medications over the counter. So they can have access to these NSAIDs drugs that are implicated in the pathogenesis of ulcer. And also in our environment, if you look at that, this bacteria is implicated in poor hygienous environment, you know, a lack of safe water in our environment, the food preparation itself, and also risk of overcrowding can all increase the risk of this bacterial infection, this Helicobacter pylori. So with the combination of the increase in the incidence of chronic diseases, lifestyle-associated diseases, substance use like alcohol, cigarette smoking, also the easy access to this medication and prolonged use of medication also can have also, I think, contributed to the increase in the prevalence of ulcer in our environment. However, also adherence to medication, because you can find that, oh yes, you go to the hospital and the doctor tells you you have ulcer, you'll be given medication for certain duration of time, and you find that in our environment, people find it difficult to adhere to taking medication at the right dose and also of the right duration. So that can also increase the prevalence of ulcer in our environment.
Okay. Now, I know you mentioned about lifestyle, which means it can be avoided now. But when someone happens to be suffering from ulcer, is it curable?
Yes, as I mentioned earlier, peptic ulcer disease is a preventable disease and also is a curable disease. With lifestyle alone, you can prevent it, avoiding cigarette smoking, excessive use of alcohol, and also using medication at the right time for the right disease also is a form of lifestyle modification. Also include weight reduction. So obesity could also serve as a risk for development of this chronic medical condition. So if you watch your weight with regular exercise, you can prevent ulcer. Also, in coming to the treatment of ulcer, yes, there's a lot of medications that you can use to treat ulcer. So the treatment could either be medical, or it is also for extreme of cases, there's surgical interventions that can be used to treat ulcer. So I would rather say ulcer is curable. So there's medications when you have those symptoms, do the right thing, go to the hospital, and then when it's confirmed it's ulcer, you'll be given medication for the appropriate duration. But there are medications that we can use to reduce the acidity inside the stomach, and also there are some medications that you can use that will help the healing of the ulcer, and also there is some antibiotics that are also implicated in the treatment of ulcer. So yes, antacids, antibiotics, and yes, some form of antihistamines also can be used in the treatment of ulcer.
Are there other form of food that one can avoid when one has ulcer, you know?
As against what we usually were told when before that, okay, ulcer is the disease of the poor, you know, you have to, if you don't eat very well, you tend to get ulcer. But rather now, ulcer is can affect anyone at any time, whether you eat well or you don't eat well. So I would say that most of these food items don't really cause ulcer. However, some of them can slow the healing process of ulcer. So I would say when you have ulcer, peptic ulcer disease per se, I would advise you try and avoid spicy food, which can reduce the healing process, and also all those food that will increase the acid secretion inside the stomach, like acidic fruits, the likes of orange juice, apple juice, pineapple juice. They can all reduce the healing process. Also, I can't conclude without mentioning cigarette smoking, which is highly implicated
I wanted to say,
itself,
doctor, what can Nigerians do without spicy food?
Yes, rather, yes. You can actually, what you need to do is healthy diet, a balanced diet rather. It's very helpful. Use of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, avoid too much spicy food, too much oily food. It can always go a long way. So cigarette smoking actually reduces the healing process. So it's how am I even going to put it for you, Sawa? So as you know, it slows the healing process of all wounds, whether ulcer or wound in any part of the body. So our advice, avoiding cigarette also we go a long way in treating ulcer.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ladan Aisha Zamia, for being there. I hope viewers at home are able to take 1 or 2 lessons. Many thanks for coming.
Thank you so much, Sawa, for having me.
Okay. Up next is our Nature's Corner.
Curious about how government policies on healthcare are faring? Do you enjoy learning about wellness concept and the many options available? Then watch Health Options on the NTA.
Mr. President has led by example. Take the COVID-19 vaccine.
Somebody can say, hey, I woke up this morning, I felt some tingling in my hand, some weakness, my face was, I couldn't speak well. That's a warning stroke, and it shouldn't be ignored.
The carrots contains carotene. Tomatoes is a colored plant. It has carotene. Pepper has carotene.
50% of our diet should be green vegetables and fruits.
Join leading experts on both orthodox and alternative medicine for all the enlightenment you need for a healthier you.
Thanks for joining us on the program. I am Rabi Abdullah.
Cloves, as you know, is from the family of Mesticea, mostly grown in Nakula Island in the Indonesia. And the botanical name is Cystigum aromaticum. That's rheumaticum. It is widely grown, as I said, in Southeast Asia and some other locations. And it is obtained from an evergreen plant where the buds, which is what I'm showing you, these are the buds from where we obtain the clove after granulating the buds to get this powder. And in the kitchen, it finds a very good use. It's a kind of an international spice all over the world, even though it's from Indonesia. It has a lot of importance in terms of uses. It can keep hunger at bay. So for those who want to lose weight, it works there. It also helps to check the sugar within the body system of individuals. Basically, it has a lot of antioxidants. And anytime antioxidants are mentioned, you know the issue has to do with immune boosting properties, anti-inflammatory properties, antibiotic properties, antibacterial, antiviral. All these are loaded in this spice. And in my own lab, to be specific, when I was called upon, it is a spice I'm very, very familiar with because of its antioxidant property, as its anti-inflammatory properties. Anything that has a lot of antioxidant effect will be a thing of interest, because these are the kind of things we need to take plenty, either in form of tea or in our foods or in any form. If you come to the oil has far-reaching uses. It needs preventing decay in the teeth of various animals, including human beings. It has a lot of anti-cancer properties. We've been able to use it to treat and cure cancer of the colon. Even in the respiratory issues, still related to COVID-19 because COVID is epicenter of the truth, has a lot to do with the respiratory system. This has a lot of anti-respiratory properties, and they are not quite expensive. These are things you find in your kitchen that you don't even know their uses, but it has far-reaching uses. Either use it in pepper soup, use it in soup, or any other form of uses, even in drinking pap and all that. This will find a great use. This is a very, very good medicinal spice, and been able to use it successfully in even treatment of asthma because of its respiratory effect. I use this, I can put it in my tea and take, can put it in akamu and take. Some people even spread it on rice and take, it works. And if there are issues with the teeth, you can make some warm water preparation with it, just like you gargle with salt water. You can also gargle with it. Well, the oil is quite effective. It's applied to the particular teeth that has a problem. Now that we've spoken at length, it's now important to advise our viewers that since you have a lot of people maybe have it in their kitchen, having ordered it at one time or the other, but not knowing what to do with it. So with this period of COVID-19, it's good to apply them in the ways I have mentioned, be it in akamu, be it in pepper soup, be it in even other soups you make for the benefit of the family, or even your tea. Anything that has antioxidant effects has strong immune boosting properties. Finally, the other aspect that we have not mentioned is its ability to cause sleep. At night, when some people use milk as the last thing on bed, it takes them to sleep. You can also have a tea of cloves in the night before bedtime, and it will quietly take you to sleep. So this is even better than taking Lexotan and other complicated synthetic medicines that may have afterwards effects. So you can see how important this herbal corner can become, because there are so many things you overlook, but whose benefits health-wise are very, very immense.
With that, we conclude this week's episode of Health Options. But if you missed out, not to worry, you can always catch up on our YouTube channel at www.nta.ng. You can also leave us your comments and suggestions. Do well to take care of your well-being. Bye for now.